Here we go. Not gonna mess this up. Not gonna mess this up. Here we go. Ready? Hi.
Hello, students. Hello, welcome to Music Education at Home. What's up, homies? For our first lesson, we're going to be talking about the treble clef and the bass clef. Let's start from the very basics. Music is written on the lines and spaces of the musical staff. These lines and spaces are given note names, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to infinity. The treble clef is used mostly for the higher notes. This tells us what the lines and spaces are when it's on the page. The bass clef is used for the lower notes. That tells us what those lines and spaces are. Some instruments use treble clef, some instruments use bass clef. Piano, for example, uses both of them at the same time, and some instruments can switch back and forth. It is extremely important as musicians that we learn both treble clef and bass clef to be able to read any music that's put in front of us or to just merely understand it. Reading is fundamental to being a good musician. Without a clef, this note right here doesn't mean anything. All we can tell is that it's on the bottom line. This whole note, the bottom line goes all the way through it. That means it's just on the bottom line. It's not in the space above or below. Music will always be very clear and you'll never have to guess. Let's start off with adding the bass clef. Now we know that the bottom line is always G, which makes this note right here a G. It's that simple. If we wanted to go up from G, we would have A, B, C, and D all the way up the musical alphabet. Some notes are on a line, some are in a space. Line, space, and that continues on all the way up into the ledger lines. Let's back it up all the way to our lonely note. We can't tell what it is. We have no way of knowing until we add a clef. We've already added bass clef, so now let's add treble clef. Now we know exactly what the bottom line is. On the treble clef, the bottom line is always an E. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, the bottom line on the treble clef is always an E. So let's mark an E, and then let's go up. Space, line, space, line, space. The note after E in the musical alphabet is F. Then we would have G, A, and B. This will continue on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays. It will always go up exactly like that. It'll never jump around. This will always be F, this will always be G, this will always be A. What we really have to do is memorize where those lines and spaces are. The first line is E, so that means the second one's got to be G because there's F in between. Now let's practice. I wrote 4 notes on this music staff, but we have no idea what they are because there's no clef. So let's add a clef. I'm sick of this black marker. Let's start off with bass clef. Remember, on bass clef, the bottom line is always G. So let's count up the musical alphabet to figure out what this first note right here is. So on the bottom line, we would have G, the space above it would be A, and then we get to B. It's that simple, we have our answer. This note is B. Let's go on to the next one. Remember, the bottom line is always G, so let's count up the alphabet. G, A in the space, B on the next line, the next space up is C, then on the line we would have D, but this note's not on the line, you would see it going through. It must be in the space above. So after D comes E. So we know that note is E. Now, do you remember what the bottom line of the bass clef is? It's always G. This note is G. We have this note up here. Now we could count all the way up from G to A to B, or we know that everything in this space is E. So let's just start there. So we have E, then F. So we know that this one must be high G. But let's double check. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and then we get to the top space, G. Now we're starting all over. Our notes are floating out in the universe with no way of knowing where they are. Until we add a clef, right? Let's add treble clef. Now think. The bass clef, the bottom line was G. Can you remember what I said the bottom line for the treble clef was? It's E. So let's count up. E, F, G. That's easy. The bottom line is E, the space is F, and that second line is G. Let's do the next one. Think about it on your own real quick. Bottom line, space, line, space, line, then the notes in the space. Let's count up. E, F, G, A, B, C. The note in that space is C. Easy enough. Let's do the next one. The bottom line of the treble clef is E. Done. Easy. Easy. Okay, let's do this one. Now remember the trick we did with the bass clef? When we would have to count all the way up, let's use what we know. We know everything in this space is going to be C. So let's say C, D, and then E. Let's double check. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. We did it. It's that simple. Now, I know you're laughing at me saying that's simple, but it's really important that we learn both of the two main clefs, treble clef and bass clef. Do you remember what the bottom line of the bass clef was? It was G. Do you remember the bottom line of the treble clef? It was E. Good job.